Given the emergence of Jeff Doughton on the Raptors Summer League team, as well as a nuclear performance in a Pro-Am game, Malachi Flynn has been a huge topic of discussion over the past couple days, and so much so it's gotten to a point where Raptors head coach Nick Nurse has been called out by a former NBA All-Star for not giving this guy enough opportunity. So I'm going to break down all the drama surrounding Malachi Flynn as well as his potential role heading into next season. Additionally, we have a Kevin Durant betting odds update, which the Raptors have quietly been sneaking up in the odds, so breaking all that down as well as other tidbits of news. So without further ado, let's dive straight into it. Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors side, just breaking down the latest Toronto Raptors news. And the first thing we're talking about is Malachi Flynn absolutely exploding in a Pro-Am game. Now, obviously Malachi Flynn played for the Toronto Raptors for the past couple seasons, hasn't really been able to break out. There was some excitement coming into last season where swole Malachi Flynn was coming into the year. I know Josh was pretty hyped saying this guy's going to be an elite backup point guard. Obviously, the way he tore up LaMelo Ball in his rookie preseason games, there's high hopes for Malachi, but hasn't been able to put it all together just yet. But one performance in a Pro-Am game has a lot of Raptors fans excited right now about his potential heading into next season. And Malachi Flynn, as mentioned in the header and all that sort of stuff, Malachi Flynn scored 73 points in the crossover Pro-Am game as his Sonics beat the PNW Reign 115-108. So a massive performance there for Malachi. And this was just, 8 points off the record of Isaiah Thomas's 81 points. I think he had a couple years ago. So, the crossovers, by all means, obviously it's not the level of even a summer league. It's Pro-Am, so you're getting some amateurs in there. It's not all professionals. It's not something that's the craziest of competition, but he's not going up against complete scrubs, right? He's not going in playing a JV high school team or some scrubs like that. So absolutely impressive showing there for Malachi. Usually you see pros put in some 30 pieces, 40 pieces, even 50 pieces, but rarely do you see those break-ins to the 70 points and 80 points. So Malachi kept coming out, balling out in this one, and hit some deep threes watching the highlights of this game, and he's balling out. But I don't want to dive too much into the Pro-Am game, but more so, if Malachi Flynn's growing in his game, what areas does he need to grow into ensure he's going to be the backup point guard for this Toronto Raptors team next season? Because last year, it looked like, at least from off-season discussion, he had a big opportunity to come in and take that role. Obviously, Goran Dragic was there for the first couple of weeks, but then both Dragic and Flynn got surmounted by Delano Banton, who played absolutely ridiculous basketball for the first 2 months of the season. So Flynn never really got some opportunities, but couldn't capitalize on any other opportunities over the course of the season to really set himself apart as the backup point guard. And the stats sort of back that up, right? If you look at Malachi Flynn's stats for last season, right, 4 points, close to 2 rebounds, 2 assists, right? The defense wasn't electrifying, got a foul per game, but the number that's really discouraging, I think kept Malachi Flynn off the court last year, is the 3-point shot just wasn't consistent enough to go down in the minutes that he played to where the point he was a plus out there on the court, right? 33%, I believe he shot 30% his rookie season, 33% last year, right? For a 6-foot guard that doesn't, even though he's certainly an athlete and he's got a tight handle, so we see Malachi Flynn make some drives, hit some floaters, but for a guy that's not Russell Westbrook-esque or prime Russell Westbrook, dunking the ball, slashing the lane, you need a jump shot at this point in the NBA, right? Flynn's a good facilitator and all that sort of stuff, but the fact that he wasn't a great threat, and it wasn't that, the percentage is 33%. It's bad for a guard that's coming in and trying to, make a name off the bench and all that sort of stuff, but he'd miss some shots that were bad, right? Some games he'd be knocking them down. Some games they would just be some bad misses. And it's tough. It's tough for Nick Nurse, right, to have a smaller guard out there that's struggling shooting behind the 3-point line. I know he won Defensive Player of the Year in college, or at least for his region in college, but, the size is still a negative factor. He's not, doesn't have the strength of a Fred VanVleet or a Kyle Lowry to really bully his way or stay, the low center of gravity that those guys have, stay in front of bigger guards. He doesn't really have that, even if he is mobile and can stay in front quick-wise, but he doesn't have the size to guard bigger twos, obviously any threes or anything like that. Obviously no 4s or 5s. So if Malachi Flynn doesn't get that jump shot rolling, if he doesn't get that 3-point shot, that stroke rocking, I don't see where he's going to be able to eclipse even a Delano Banton in the sort of pecking order, just given Delano Banton's size, potential, and facilitating ability himself, even if Flynn's the better ball handler, just because defensive-wise, the style the Raptors play, right, I don't see him eclipsing Banton there, and obviously Jeff Doughton, who is a little bit of a wild card because he's been so good in Summer League. We haven't seen him play that much in the NBA. He bounced around a few teams last year, but we'll see how he comes into the Raptor system. So if Flynn can get the jump shot, the other intangibles are there. He's a great ball handler. He's a great passer, can run the pick and roll. Even the Raptors don't run that style of offense that often, right? And has the potential quick-wise on defense. Still needs to put on a little bit of weight probably to match up with twos out there if he's going to be playing alongside Fred VanVleet. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with Flynn. The intangibles are there. Clearly, if you can put in 73 points in a Pro-Am game, that's pretty huge. So shout out to Malachi Flynn. Like to see him having these big fiery performances in the Pro-Am game. Better than him, dropping a dud in one of these games. So shout out to Flynn. Nice performance. But the next thing we're talking about is building off of this. Is Nick Nurse called out by a former All-Star, specifically for the Malachi Flynn situation. And obviously, it's well noted that Nick Nurse didn't give Flynn that much run last year, and a lot of Raptors fans might argue that Flynn was given opportunities but couldn't really capitalize it, couldn't beat out the competition, and fair enough. But we have Isaiah Thomas, who actually set the record for points per game in this closeout game, essentially saying someone's going to give him a real chance, and he's going to take it to the top. Real hoop game. So obviously, Isaiah Thomas, a smaller guard himself in the NBA, before going down with injury, was one of the best scorers before he went nuclear, became an all-star, right? Was one of the best scorers off the bench for a long time, and then played in Boston. We all know what happened with IT, having averaged a season where he was a 30-piece. I think he was third in MVP voting, so he can scout some talent. He knows the true hoopers out there, and he's probably representing, the smaller guards. At least he's a smaller guard myself. I'm rooting for the Malachi Flynns, the Isaiah Thomases of the world, but without the 3-point shot consistently, if the 3-point shot comes in right at a level that IT had during his playoff runs, his MVP runs or MVP campaigns, whatever you want to call it, right? That's then Flynn is legitimately going to be at least a rotation player. I'm not arguing that by any means, but as I sort of broken down in the intro, I don't think Nick Nurse should be getting some shade thrown at him, getting called out by IT for not giving Malachi Flynn a real chance, because Flynn needs to be able to have that scoring ability to where he's not a negative on the offensive end, because clearly you're not going to have him out there for his defense playing these smaller guards that aren't thick like Kyle Lowry or Fred VanVleet. So we'll see what ends up happening. I like the confidence IT is given to our guy. I'm rooting for Flynn. I hope he comes back. And my Jeff Doughton take in the last video, I saw a couple people flame. So a lot of people agreed though, but I'm rooting for our Raptors guys. So Flynn can come out, perform, get his money. Obviously he's still on his rookie contract, but up his value. I'd love to see it. So here's hoping Malachi Flynn balls out, and obviously the better Malachi Flynn plays, the more Malachi Flynn's dad memes we have. Raptors Nation memes we get going on the podcast. So definitely keep an eye out for Malachi. Sometimes it's the third year in a guy's NBA career where they really take that next leap. I could see him maybe having a Tyus Jones-esque timeline to his career where, the first couple years you look at him like, oh, is this guy really an NBA player? Is he kind of a scrub? Right, we'll see, borderline scrub NBA player, and then look at what Tyus Jones has done for the Memphis Grizzlies this year. Just absolutely balled out, become one of the best 6 men in the entire NBA. Just got paid this offseason. So here's hoping Malachi Flynn follows that type of trajectory. So keep our eyes looking at Malachi Flynn. No sleeping on Flynn's sanity, but we'll see what ends up happening. But the next thing we're talking about is the Raptors, now second favorites to land Kevin Durant. That's right. The betting odds, no matter how much Raptors fans are kind of tired with all the Kevin Durant news, how tired we are with the quest for KD. Obviously, if you want those jewels, if you want those top pieces, those gems in the NBA, the quests take a long time to navigate through. So obviously, subscribe to the Raptors side just to join us on this quest. But, news is still creeping out. And I said in the last video, I don't think we're going to get any heavy hitting stuff over the next couple of weeks. The GMs are on vacation, but we're going to get tidbits. We're going to get these adjustments in odds. We're going to get the backroom plays, the minor reports that, are just sort of negotiation tactics amongst two front offices, probably more put people at stake. But the Toronto Raptors right now, with all of that being said, we're the second favorites to land Durant. Obviously, the Suns were the heavy favorites since the trade request was made. But given the DeAndre Ayton signing and the fact that they don't have any assets, they have fallen behind the Toronto Raptors at this point. Now, the Nets odds have gone up in following the Suns' decrease, but so have the Raptors. So I'm of the belief KD is just kind of chilling right now. He's letting it see how it all plays out. But if this guy already made the decision to go to Adrian Wojnarowski, make a Woj bomb saying I got this trade request, I don't think that was done half-heartedly. I don't think there's going to be love in with a meeting between Joe Tsai, Kevin Durant, GM Sean Marks. Right? I think if the trade request was made, you're at a point of no return. And KD's probably going to push that. KD's not a dumb guy. He knows how this was probably going to play out, right? I don't see a world where he's back on the roster next season. Maybe it was a ploy to get Kyrie Irving a contract. Who really knows? But we'll see what ends up happening for the KD situation. But I like the Raptors odds are up there, and I like that we don't really have that many other competitors in our quest to acquire Kevin Durant. So we'll see what ends up happening on that front. And the final topic, the final thing we're discussing is former Toronto Raptors balling out in the Drew League. Now, a couple of the big Drew League storyline that's going around is obviously LeBron James playing in there, but he's teaming up with former Toronto Raptor DeMar DeRozan, which you love to see because obviously they had those grueling battles in at least grueling for the Raptors teams. The 2016 battle between LeBron and DeRozan, Lowry, and all that. So those two squads was actually pretty fun. Bismack Biyombo setting playoff records. That series got taken to 6. But the other two LeBronto memes, or series, they're just really memes at this point, right? Those were tough. So it's nice to see DeMar get to suit up with LeBron James, who was obviously his enemy here while he was here in Toronto. Cool seeing those guys team up, but DeMar didn't have the greatest second half. Former Toronto Raptor also, Stanley Johnson, was putting on the clamps out there in Drew League. Some wild highlights there from old Stanley Johnson. Nice to see those Raptors players balling out, showing out, repping some Pro-Am leagues. Obviously, DeMar always plays the Drew League, but cool that he's able to get LeBron James on his squad. But definitely check out those highlights if you haven't seen them. But you guys are the best for making this far. Check out the Instagram, the TikTok, the Twitter, all that cool stuff. Enough of me rambling. Subscribe to the channel. Helps us out big time. I'm signing out. Cheers.